Lately, it's been a lot of break-ins in the Highlands, and with us we have Chief LaValle, Captain John Webb, Captain Kevin Sullivan, Mayor Bud Caulfield. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Councilor Kasanjan?
Here.
Councilor Mercier?
Here.
Councilor Broderick absent, 2 present.
Councilor Kevin Broderick did call up. He's home with a nasty cold, so he couldn't make it tonight. And also we have Nancy Judge from the Highlands Neighborhood Group. And Chief, I know the last 3 or 4 months we've been having some serious issues in the Highlands, and I've received a lot of phone calls, and also the mayor's office received some phone calls, and that's why we're here tonight. And maybe you can tell us what's happening there, what the police department's been doing. And
Okay. First, let me say that, in general, there has been an increase in burglaries in the city this year overall. The Highlands obviously has been hit substantially. There's been 137 burglaries in the entire Highlands neighborhood. So that would be the Lower Highlands and the Outer Highlands this entire year since January 1. And that at this time, that's 41 more than occurred at this time last year, and obviously in 2007. The vast majority of those, 84%, were residential or house burglaries, homes that were broken into. 14% were commercial breaks, which is, a business, and the others were in public buildings. And 63% of those burglaries occurred either during the day or early in the evening hours when people, or 21% in the evening hours when people are at work. So about 84% of those breaks, particularly those in the homes, have been taking place when people are at work, which is mostly during the day. The breaks that are occurring in the Highlands at this point in time, 68% were forcible entry breaks. In other words, the people who were doing the breaks were gaining entry by breaking windows, forcing doors, etc. 25% were basically breaks that were unlawful entries, which basically means that either the windows or the doors were left open or unlocked, and people were able to get into the homes by just opening the door or lifting an unlocked window. You can see, based on the intensity map of the Highlands neighborhood, where a lot of those house breaks are taking place. Where you see the darkest red is where the vast majority of those crimes are occurring in the Highlands neighborhood. And there are some pockets of crime that are quite considerable, as you can see. This is a comparison of the Highland burglaries by month, and you can see that truly in the spring there was a big spike in the house breaks, and they went up quite high through March into April. And then in May, the Lowell Police Department was able to arrest about 9 individuals who were responsible for many of the breaks in that particular neighborhood. There were 3 separate groups. They were not all interconnected, but there was a total of 9. And since the arrest of those 9 individuals, the actual decrease in burglaries has occurred and has somewhat leveled off, but it continues to be a problem for us, and it's obviously higher than it was last year. So you can just tell by this chart right here, Councilor, that our impact on at least arresting those 9 individuals has paid dividends, and that the rate of burglaries has decreased considerably, but is still high. Recently, and quite often when you arrest 1 or 2 individuals, you solve multiple house breaks. We were able to recently arrest 1 individual who admitted to breaking into 12 homes, and then 2 juveniles were recently arrested just last week, and they were identified as suspects in 8 house breaks. And many times when these breaks occur, we're able to recover some of the property that was stolen from the areas where these individuals frequent. For example, if they go to their homes, we're able to find some of the materials that were stolen. Oftentimes it's jewelry or high-end electronics such as flat screen TVs, computers, and things like that. So we've had some success in making these arrests, and our criminal investigation division is working closely with the pawn shops to try to identify where the stolen property is going. And each morning our detectives review the pawn shop data sheets to determine if any of these items that are stolen from these house breaks are being pawned. We did see that we did a compliance check recently. Our detectives went to some of the pawn shops in the city, and we found that some of them are not in compliance with the law and are not getting the identifying information from the person who's pawning the materials. So we have 2 stores in the city right now who we plan to bring to the License Commission and cite them for failing to follow the mandates of the law in terms of getting identifying information from the people who are pawning off the items. And then we have one pawn shop that we actually are charging with receiving stolen property in the city of Lowell as well. We've also made some efforts to deal with crime prevention. It's very important for people to understand that they need to harden. Target hardening is basically installing alarms, lights, and things along those lines that prevent their homes from being broken into. As I said earlier, about 25% of the breaks were at homes that were left unsecured, so that's a significant number, and education needs to be done to make sure people know that it's important for them to lock up their homes when they leave. I have Captain Webb with me, Captain Sullivan. Captain Webb, as you know, is our lead detective, chief detective in the Lowell Police Department. He is coordinating the investigations into these house breaks, and Captain Sullivan is the sector commander for the Highlands, and he interacts quite frequently with the people in the neighborhood and attends the neighborhood meetings. And this discussion about house breaks has been taking place for quite some time now over the last few months. So we have made significant inroads into this problem. Much more work needs to be done. I certainly realize and understand and appreciate the fact that the people who live in the neighborhood are concerned about these issues, and it's very, very disheartening to be at work all day, come home and find your home broken into. It's a very traumatic experience, and people find that to be a significant problem. And I would say that we know that, once again, significantly, much of this crime is driven by the drug problem. Many of the people who are stealing these items are stealing them to get money to buy illegal drugs. And as you know, it's a significant issue that we've been dealing with here for a number of years, and we continue to try to deal with that problem as well. So the catalyst for a lot of these crimes, not just house breaks, but many others, is illegal narcotics, and something that we're working on and continue to try to resolve. But it's a long road ahead, needless to say.
Thank you very much for being here. This is a very serious situation in the Highlands or anywhere in the city. When we look upon our home as that secure place that we can go to for shelter, for food, for comfort, and then we work all day long and come home and we feel violated. Someone broke into our home. It's the worst scourge that I personally think that could happen. They invaded my territory, my free, safe space. It's just unbearable and unbelievable. Thank the good Lord it never happened to me, but I have seen the faces. I have heard the pain, and the people lost valuable things. That a necklace probably, it's not about the cost, but it's about the sentimental value, and that has taken place. I know that this was a person that I'm going to talk about. I'm not going to mention any names, but I was afraid to come forward, and so I'm going to speak for that person that came home and found that jewelry and sentimental values and heirlooms and things that mean nothing to anybody else was stolen. So they called the police and made the report and everything else. The very same day, they were so devastated by it that they actually went to different pawn shops around the city to look for their stuff. And lo and behold, there in one of the pawn shops, the ladies saw their items and said, that's my stuff. I can't believe that. And went to the police department. The police came back and they retrieved those things. But the lady said, where's the rest of my stuff? They must have came and sold everything here. Where's the rest of it? And the lady said at the pawn shop, well, we melted it down. We melted it down. We obliterated it. We melted it down so quickly. It's unbelievable that this should happen. To think that we have pawn shops in the city that are not complying with the law. It's like, it's no different almost than young people going in and getting the six-pack and going out and hurting people. You have to be cognizant of the rules. You have to comply with the laws that set forth with you. We do need to step up a campaign, in my personal opinion, to go to the different pawn shops and say, listen, you shouldn't be buying any goods from anybody unless they prove who they are with a picture. I mean, they have to be some accountability there. I'm sure that could put a dent in having it easy in the city to have a name that the city of Lowell is easy to get the fence off the stuff in these pawn shops. They're not going to check you. They're not going to care. They'll give you the money. Maybe they'll give you a third of what the stuff is worth, but you'll get your money and it'll be easy. We don't want to make it easy for these thugs. And I hate to keep using the word, but there are a lot of thugs in this city that prey on people. And you know what they're doing? They're going along in daylight and they're carrying backpacks on their back, so you don't know if they're a student going to school or are they going to rob Mary Smith down the street. It's very, very scary. That's one thing. We got to be on top of these pawn shops to say, listen, we'll shut you down. We'll shut down the package store for selling to a minor. We're going to shut you down and use that same force to these businesses. You want to make money, but if you don't comply with the law, we're shutting you down. It's as simple as that. Let's put our foot down and stop this. Let's not make it easy for these people. The next thing is, I know that I served meals at the Halloween dinner dance at the Council on Aging. The lady was in the office with Tara, and she was crying. She was crying because she came out of Demulis's, and the kid's there with a bike. He snatched her pocketbook, and he took off. If you see any suspicious looking, I'm alerting the people. I hope they're watching this, because there's many things we can say to help you so that these things don't happen. In other words, the managers of these stores should come out and say, hey, no bikes here. I know that it's tough to be watching the door, but you know, it's tough to see a woman crying in the elderly senior center because her pocketbook was stolen, and she said, I really didn't have much money, but the pocketbook was a gift. It was a Vera Bradley, and they're very expensive. I couldn't afford that pocketbook, but someone gave it to me, and it was the greatest gift I ever got, and they stole it off her because they had a bicycle in front of the door and just snatched it and whipped it and left. We should be doing something about alerting the neighborhood grocery stores that kids with bicycles shouldn't be at the entrances and exits of these places, number one. I remember many years ago the different neighborhood groups, like the Upper Highlands and the Belvedere and all that. I went to the different ones. They had a campaign going on with the police department telling the seniors and people there just how to ward off an attempt of anything such as this. One of the things that stuck in my mind was, not everybody can get a dog. I don't deserve a dog because I'm not home all that much to have one, but the thing of it is, you could get a big bowl and say killer or something on that thing. There's many different little things that you could do. Leave your light on at night. Don't leave your house in darkness. I mean, let's have a campaign put together that you know the rules. You know what could be safety for these neighborhood groups. Have people there. A lady had a little chihuahua. The name of it was Fifi. She got a big bowl like this and put Tiger or something on the bowl outside. Nobody's going to want to go robbing that place for fear, even if she doesn't have a dog. I don't want to take that chance. So there's many things that you could do, and I'm sure, I wish I had that campaign again to go to the different neighborhood groups, keep a light on, watch each other's, if you see any suspicious happenings going in, you know, you can lock your doors, that's true too, but I mean, if they want something bad enough, they'll break a window, report suspicious things. So I'm saying a campaign and many things we could do, but that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Mercia. Mayor Garfield?
Thank you very much, Councilor Kasanjian, and Chairman of this important committee, and thank you, Councilor Mercia, as well. I want to thank the Chief and his staff for being here. I can't stay too long, but I appreciate you convening this meeting, and I just have a few things to say. First of all, Chief, are your officers going to be here at the License Commission to testify about these two stores that violated the law?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'll let Captain Webb explain the circumstances, and he'll talk about the testimony that would be offered at the License Commission.
Thank you. I'm looking at this scenario like people who recycle their cans and bottles at the recycling depot on Tanner Street. And if there's a haven for the criminal to rob someone's home and their jewelry, and they know they can go to a particular jewelry store the same day that they rob someone, dispose of the jewelry, and be paid cash for it. I hope the License Commission comes down hard on these stores. Much to blame is the criminal. It's a sad thing to say. And you know what's another sad thing to say? Chief, I know the Lowell Police Department does an excellent job arresting suspects, no matter what the crime might be. And of all the people the Lowell Police Department have arrested and convicted, how many of those people are behind, or how many of those people are incarcerated? And how many people are back out in the street walking again, doing that same crime? That's the problem. And many times, the Lowell Police Department bring a person into the courtroom, and before the police get back to the police station, that person's out on the street again. And that's the problem. Just one question, Chief. How many of these individuals, there were 9 individuals that were arrested, were any of them gang-related, or any of them in a group, or are they on a mission?
Well, I'll ask Captain Webb to comment on that. Maybe you can offer some insight into that, Captain. I will say of the 9 individuals who we've arrested in these breaks, 8 are currently not in custody. 1 is being held pending trial. The other 8 have been released from custody, which is not unusual.
Out of the 9 that were arrested, how many are behind bars?
1.
1.
Right. One is behind bars pending trial, and the other 8 are out pending their court appearances.
Chief, if I was in law enforcement, like you and your staff is, I'd be frustrated, extremely frustrated, because the time that's spent and the detective work that is spent to find that criminal and bring him into the court of law, and the police department are doing everything humanly possible to bring peace and tranquility to a community, and that criminal is out in no time at all, doing the same thing over and over and over. So,
well, I guess there are certain mandates, requirements of the law in terms of bail, and I'm sure the courts examine those issues when they make these decisions. The suggestion has been made to have a public safety subcommittee meeting with representatives of the DA's office, so we could all understand and appreciate exactly how these bail questions are resolved. And, it was not that long ago that I had suggested that the release of that individual who had robbed the banks would result in more bank robberies, and certainly it did. So I wouldn't be surprised that basically individuals who are drug addicted, the deterrent of arrest just isn't there. I mean, they have to continue to deal with their problem, and they're going to do everything they can to feed that habit, regardless of arrest or not. They're just going to continue to do it. There's no doubt about that. So I don't know if, as far as the mayor asked about gangs and how they were involved in these particular breaks, if you have any information on that, Captain.
As far as gang activity goes, 2 or 3 of these people that we have arrested for the breaks are people that we've run across before, either gang members or associates of gangs. We have not established any link between their membership in the gang and this particular activity, though. Nothing that indicates that this is some sort of activity that the gang is furthering.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I just ask one more question?
Sure.
Then I have to go to another function. Chief, could we turn to the map of the Highlands where the crimes are being?
Yeah, the intensity map, right?
For what I understand, the map that's before us is in the neighborhood of Livingston, Harvard, Stevens, Wilder, Smith and Liberty, Middlesex Street, is that so?
Right.
That's,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have a question, too. Thank you. Excuse me, Chief.
Yes.
Is it against the law to stop a young person on a bicycle with a backpack at random and say, could we just look inside that bag? You can't do that.
Can't do that. No.
So they
you know,
have more rights than we do then, because
Well-
they could be transporting,
Sure.
you know, personal things, items that they just robbed somewhere, but we
Yeah,
can't touch them.
the police need to have reasonable suspicion. They can't just randomly stop people who could potentially, resemble someone who could possibly be involved in crime. In other words, your point about the house breaks with the backpacks is well taken. I will tell you that the incident I was involved in Pawtucketville, the foot pursuit, that's exactly what those young people had. They had gone into that home, appearing to be students, during a school day, had backpacks in their possession that were empty. And their plan was to fill those backpacks and leave with all those stolen items. When those people were pursued and eventually captured, and we recovered the backpacks that they had had with them, they were empty because they had no time to actually get into the house and steal the items that they planned to steal. So that's a good point, and it's an accurate statement to say that these young people are carrying backpacks and filling them, and they appear to be students going around, going to and from school and so forth and so on.
And so I'm thinking if school is in session.
Yes.
And these kids are out on bicycles with a backpack, why
Right.
couldn't we just
Right.
be
Well-
under suspicion?
well,
I mean, you know what?
what
The
you-
law is not protecting the victims
Right.
today.
What we can do is we can approach these young people, and that's what I plan to do, and we've had this strategy in place. And if there is someone out there who should be in school and looks young enough to be in school, school's in session, they're not in school, we can at least check their status in terms of being truant.
There you go.
And that's something we plan to do.
We have to put the fear of God and have the word spread that, oh, you don't want to do that. The other day, Tom down the street got stopped with the backpack and he got busted. That's the message I want to spread to these
Sure.
people. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that the case, Chief, where in the Highlands, people or kids walking around with backpacks and breaking into houses?
Well, I think that's part of the problem, but, there are older adults. I mean, we can't really just pinpoint one group of people and say they're responsible for all the breaks. I think that there's some young people involved. I think there are some people who are older who have the drug addiction issue that we talked about. So there are multiple individuals involved in these crimes, and I think our statistics would point out that some of them are juvenile, some of them are not. It varies from arrest to arrest.
Well, is that something, if we see something like that, like Council Mercer said, try to campaign and let the people know if they see someone walking on their street with a backpack, well, there could be a problem. So they pick up the phone, call the police, and send someone out. I mean,
We're very, very grateful every time
Yeah.
someone recognizes a potential issue and calls us. We really need the eyes and ears of the public, and
Oh,
the campaign
absolutely.
is a perfect, and we've actually had dialogue. Paul Cochran, who is our safety officer, has been to the Highlands Neighborhood Organization with Captain Sullivan, has been trying to spread the word that people need to be vigilant, and if they see, that's exactly what occurred in Pawtucketville the day I was involved. There was a gentleman who was on his porch in a cross street, looked out and saw these young people in the backyard, immediately recognized something bad was about to happen, and that's when he called the police. So that's absolutely correct.
That's right.
and I know the police have been working very hard on this. I've been talking to Nancy Judge and said for the past few months she's been working very, very hard in trying to solve the crimes up there. And out of the 9 people, are they from out of town, in the city? I know.
I would say the vast majority of them are from within the city of Lowell.
Yeah. Are they? I'm not sure. A couple of gang members. How are the others? Are they homeless, or are they just?
No, I wouldn't characterize them as homeless. Could you compound, give us some more information on that, Captain?
As the superintendent said, some of them are young people. There are others that are older. I think most of the older ones are drug-dependent people.
Okay.
That seems to be the biggest group we're dealing with now.
I know there's a group home in that area up in, was it Wilder Street?
Yes.
Could that have any relation to that? I know there's been some problems up there.
That was the GRIP program?
The GRIP program, like
Right.
we had issues with the GRIP program in Pawtucketville, and now
Yeah.
looks like we're having problems in the Highlands, and I wonder if that
Was,
program is causing.
The first group that we arrested back in May, when this spike occurred, were 3 individuals from the grip home. They were responsible for at least 3 breaks in that neighborhood up around Stevens
What do we
Street,
do
Putnam
to resolve this? I mean, it's not fair to the people that are living in this community where this group home just is there and bringing, like you said, people from out of town to try to straighten their problems out, but in the meantime, they're breaking into people's homes and
Right.
causing all types of problems.
Well,
Yes,
we've been engaged in dialogue with the people at the GRIP program, and I think we have much more cooperation from them now, because they understand that we were very concerned about their lack of cooperation in the past. The facility in Pawtuckaville is no longer in operation. I think they just use it as a training facility, and most of their clients are housed now on Wilder Street. But since that arrest, and I believe those children were removed from their program, and since that arrest, we've had no other recognizable issues with that particular GRIP program, but certainly the potential is always there.
Okay, we have an individual who wants to speak.
Renee.
Yeah,
yes.
Renee?
Hi, I'm Renee Gasley. I'm the co-chairperson with Nancy Judge for the Highlands Neighborhood Group. And I would like just to speak on the recent occurrences that have been still happening. I was a victim of a break-in by the RIP program by 3 girls in the Wilder home. So I can speak on a personal matter. But before I do, I'd like to speak on the matter at hand. These break-ins are still going on. The last one, I believe, was in October. And what really needs to change is the attitude or the lack of taking citizens seriously when they call into the police station. Seems to be the problem. The police want us to call in. They said, if you see anything suspicious, if you've had any break-ins that look like they tried to get in, if there was an actual break-in, we have been told as citizens of Lowell to call and report this and have a police come out and make a report. What we're still finding, and this was the that residents were angry about, was the response that they were getting when they called in. And to date, October, the resident that was broken in October, or they tried, got a response like, "Why are you calling in?" basically, and she was interrogated to what was going on, rather than saying, "We'll be right out." The police were very much aware that this has been going on for quite a while in this area. And, at this point, we need caring police. We need them to say, look, we care about the neighborhood, we will respond, we will do as much as we can under the law, and we just need to step this up. And recognize that there is a problem, and it's still ongoing since I was broken into last spring. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Chief.
My question would be, the issue you mentioned today, is that the call taker, the person who is receiving the call at the police station?
Yes.
Or the officer who's responding to this?
I think
It was the
been...
dispatcher. It was the dispatcher.
Right. In the past, it has been a little bit of both, okay? But in this particular case in October, it was the dispatcher.
Okay. Are you able to provide more specific information to me offline?
Sure.
Okay.
All set, Renee?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I know firsthand that this person that called the dispatcher did give them a hard time. This was after breaking in her home, and just trying to give the information to the dispatcher because there was an individual riding around the street with a backpack on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was the rumor, that the individuals with backpacks are breaking into the homes, and called the police department, called and talked to the dispatcher, and the dispatcher gave her a runaround. And I don't think they ever sent a cruiser up.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was broken into.
Right. So, I mean, this is what we're trying to get to the bottom of. And
You're absolutely
also,
correct.
Chief and Lawrence, I know some of the pawn shops and the scrap yards, some of the scrap yards, they have some type of computer system. When an individual makes a transaction, their picture goes right to the police department and the name, and if there's any warrants on that individual, they can and they have to, before they make the transaction, it's okayed by the police department. Is that something we can get on these pawn shops where, get them on some type of a system like that? Where it works with coincides with the police department? And I did go to one of the scrap yards in Lawrence, and before they make a transaction, it has to be okayed by the police department.
Sure. If we could probably reach out to the Lawrence Police Department,
Okay.
see how the program is operated, and
Right.
see if it's something
Right.
potentially we could utilize in Lowell.
Yeah,
I certainly would never be opposed to checking out new ideas and
right.
strategies on how
Just
to deal
something
with these
thrown out there.
problems.
and
Sure.
It seems to work for them, so.
Sure. Yeah, we have a great working relationship with the Lawrence Police Department. I'll ask Captain Webb to call down to the detective unit tomorrow
Okay.
and see if we can get some insight into this particular program, and I'll report back to you on that.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you spend over $10,000 and pay cash for it, the IRS wants to know, how do you come across that money? But yet, when you have pawn shops, and if this system were in place, because I did hear about it, and why couldn't it be part of the requirement for a permit in opening a pawn shop to begin with? You want to open a pawn shop, this is the stuff that you need before you even can get a permit to open a pawn shop. Let's just say what our chairman here is saying, and you have John Smith coming in, no offense to a real John Smith, but he's coming in so many times, selling so many things so many times. Wouldn't you get a little bit suspicious about this? I know that I certainly would. So there's ways that we can monitor this through, modern technology is unbelievable. You have the CAD system in place. What about some sort of a CAD system in these pawn shops where they can monitor, a picture, and it comes across the screen that, gee, this person's been in other places so many times. You probably wouldn't go to the first place all the time, but you'd go to different others, and you can consolidate and figure it out, what's going on here. Not that we're trying to make the pawn shop the police, but gee, if they want to make a living and a profit, there's rules you have
Absolutely.
to follow, and I think this is a good thing to do.
Right.
And it's good discussion that we have here to try to
Sure.
make things better for
Yeah.
people.
I would love to be able to resolve this issue.
I know.
It really,
I know
truly
it's tough.
bothers me personally, knowing what the people are going through in that particular neighborhood. And we are working diligently. I certainly I understand the criticism and appreciate what the citizens have to say about these issues, and I will honestly follow up on the concern. I'll ask Captain Sullivan to address this issue and follow up on the issue with the dispatcher. And I think that we need to certainly be more, resolved to deal with these issues. And it starts with the dispatcher, that initial call to the police station, and then the response to the actual crime. So we do some things great, and, like any organization, every now and then something falls through the cracks, but we'll do the best we can to resolve these.
I wish I knew the program that the police department had years ago when they went around to different neighborhood groups, because it was really enjoyable. It was common sense.
Yeah.
For example, people that have shrubberies in front of their house that leave it like secluded, that's a great way for someone to hide
Yeah.
behind that and rob it.
Right.
So if you cut back your shrubs and little things like that, that say, why didn't I think of that? That could have been prevented if I would have done such and such a
Right.
thing.
Again, that's what Officer Cochran has presented at the Highlands neighborhood meetings with Captain Sullivan. Those types of information is available.
Counsel, if I could make a comment?
Yes, Captain.
There's been a lot of good points tonight, and I'm the captain in charge of the west sector, which is the Highlands and the Acre. I don't want us to walk away from the issue where if we do have a small amount of incidents where whether a dispatcher doesn't handle a call properly, or we will have small situations where an officer doesn't maybe take that extra step that we require. I do want to point out that the majority of the time, the officers that do work for me in the West Sector do an outstanding job, and they do follow up with the detectives in the Criminal Bureau. The two examples from the Highlands that come to mind are the break at 110 Campbell Drive in July, where after the extensive work by Nancy Judge, who's here in the Highlands group, and her friends that we had a significant house break on Campbell Drive, which over $10,000 worth of property was taken. And the woman who attended the meeting in July, she actually saw a suspicious person in the backyard. She called our department at, it was about 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and our officers responded, and we chased him over fences and crashed into barrels and did everything we could, and we took custody of him, and he was responsible for upwards of 10 house breaks in the Highlands. He's an individual who lived on Westford Street at the time, whose parents do live in the Highlands. Come to find out, yeah, it's due to a drug problem. But it was that call by the neighbor looking out the window, which is a nosy neighbor is more important than a house alarm sometimes. Mm-hmm. The other one is Marginal Street. We had a break at Marginal Street back in June the property ended up at this pawn shop. And again, it was a neighbor looking out the window who saw a suspicious van out front, who saw somebody who didn't belong on the street walk in the back of the house. Again, our officer arrived, chased him over the fence, got him in the backyard, and made the arrest. Those are the instances that are more of the norm, but we definitely we won't tolerate if there's misinformation or a dispatcher or an officer not doing the right thing for us. We will definitely take that into consideration.
Thank you, Captain. And there's no doubt in our mind that the police department's doing the best they possibly can. There's no question about that. Just there's been a lot of breaks. We've received a lot of phone calls, and we're just bringing it over here and I think we're having a pretty good discussion and getting what's going on.
Honestly, I truly appreciate
right.
Your scrutiny and your concern about these issues, and I'm glad to be able to come before you and discuss this, with members of the neighborhood, and the Lowell Sun is here tonight. It's something we need to work hard to resolve, and I pledge to you that we will do that. It's not an easy task, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, Sir Robert Peel said it this way: the police are the community, and the community are the police. We're really all one here. So we need a lot of help from the community. We need for them to secure their homes, to take responsibility for securing their property, to take the measures that you talked about, Counselor, in terms of, the shrubbery and the lights and the alarms and all those things. And of course, we need to do our part. And the people who are committing these crimes, they're ultimately the persons responsible for what's happening, and they need to be treated appropriately by the courts. And hopefully those people who are committing offenses like robbery and pawn shops that are taking stolen items without the proper identification need to be held accountable as well, and hopefully the License Commission will deal with them when they come before the License Commission.
Thank you. And also what's bothering me is the 9 that you arrested, 8 are back on the street. What's that, within a couple of days they're back out in the street?
Honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe some were held in custody for a short period of time and released. But again, I think we need to have another dialogue or discussion, at least with the district attorney's office, because this often comes up in when we talk about crime issues in the city and how the courts and the district attorney's office and the police interact. And maybe this could be some explanation about the laws and bail requirements and things, because, we know that oftentimes people are released from custody and they may commit other crimes, but, that's something that I'm not...
Well, this subcommittee will bring a motion forward to try to meet with the DA's office and see if we can get a good handle on what's going on.
Sure, it'd be good to hear what they have to say about this particular issue, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll make that in the form of a motion,
It'll be great, yeah.
and you're seconding
I'll
it.
second it. How about Kevin?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Anything else? No, I don't have anything else, but maybe Nancy Judge wants to speak.
Nancy?
Hi, my name is Nancy Judge, and I co-chair the Highlands Neighborhood Association with Renee Gasley. I would like to commend the neighbors in the area for coming forward. And I have to commend Captain Sullivan. He's been at all our meetings. He has taken a rash of, shall we say, harassment. He's been told about the different, calls that haven't been addressed with properly. And yes, Rita, he has said to, the neighbors how to you know, take care of their property by putting on, like, sensor lights and by watching out for one another. I have to commend Captain Sullivan. He's been doing an awesome, awesome job. So, give him an extra gold star.
Yeah, no doubt. Mr. Chairman, if I could just have a disclaimer here. I want to
Okay.
just say something off the record here that's not even pertaining to this. Yes, Chief, I had an occasion to have a concerned resident call me on a specific item, problem some time ago, maybe a couple of months ago. I didn't know what to do. I called the police department, and it happened to be Captain Kevin Sullivan, and I said, Captain, please help me with this situation. I don't know what to do for this. What is the job description of a city councilor, but what is the job description of a police officer? He didn't have to do the things that he did for me. It entailed a lot of work. There was a woman who couldn't reach a person in the housing. He had to call the housing police. There were so many detailed things. By the time that a few hours went by, the lady was calmed, there was nobody dead. It was unbelievable. He didn't have to do half the things that he did, and I know when I speak that he is a wonderful man. I'm telling you right now, you go above and beyond. I don't have to say this, so I know firsthand.
I appreciate that, but, you know, there's every one of us here and the people we work with, there's a lot of things that happen every day that
people don't
nobody
know
don't
about.
know.
That's right, and I wanted people to know that you went above and beyond, that I don't know if, they probably all would have done it, but it was you.
Yeah.
You could have handled
Well,
it differently, and you were wonderful.
We
I
don't
want to say
want, we
that.
certainly don't want Captain Sullivan's head to get too big.
No.
But
Well,
That extra gold star would help.
a gold star, you'll have to take an exam for that.
All set?
yes, thank
And
you.
also, you know, when Renee is still here, you know, when we go to the neighborhood meetings, I actually look forward to, she's not bashful in
No,
telling
I-
us what's
we know
wrong and
that.
what's going on, and that's the information that we really look forward to getting solving these problems, and,
Yeah.
you know.
It honestly, it's because of, you know, residents like her that make the city so great.
Right.
And if it was all bed of roses, it'd be fine, but it's not. So we need to have this type of, and it's not
Absolutely.
always going to be perfect, but we have to do it to make the city better.
The number one issue in the city is, and I'm going to just tell you human nature. People call my house, there's times when I can't even solve what they're talking about. I have
I know.
no clue.
Right.
I have no way to help them. It's impossible for me to do what they're asking me. But by the fact that I listen to them, I console them, I talk to them, we have a rapport, at the end of the night, I did nothing to them but listen to what they said.
Sure.
The police department plays that same role, that maybe you can't send someone there immediately, but the response that you get of a caring person on the
Yes.
other end, it means
That makes a
more
difference.
than anything else, and that's what I wanted
agree.
to say.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank the chief for being here, Captain Webb, Captain Sullivan, Nancy and Renee, and the residents of the Highlands. I want to thank you very much. Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Thank you.